Hi guys, welcome back to the safety of the Liberty Bunker. We said before this virus even really had a strong foothold in the UK that you shouldn't really fear the virus, you shouldn't really fear the health effects of the virus if you're relatively healthy, but you should fear the consequences of the virus. Let's take a look what is happening in the world at the moment. So this is a Facebook post from Boris Johnson. I'm sure it was out on all the social medias, Twitter, etc. We can turn the tide within the next 12 weeks. We can send coronavirus packing in this country, but only if we take the required steps to reduce the peak. Now, I personally think the required steps to take the peak should have happened several weeks ago. If you understand the parabolic curve, the quicker you can actually step in and stop the parabolic growth, you will have exponentially lower numbers for each day prior that you stepped in, but you chose not to. So this is pretty much out of control. 12 weeks, this is really giving people false hope in the UK. So many people at the moment are going into self-isolation, and I don't even think they need to. I check on my social media, even just anecdotally speaking to people. I hear people messaging them, and they've gone into self-isolation. They have no symptoms of coronavirus. They don't have the fever, they don't have the cough, they're not even particularly unwell. Just they're down with common cold. I think it's just even a psychosomatic thing, just a placebo. They feel they've got coronavirus when they haven't. Now, this is going to be a long fight. I think leaked document come out from the US yesterday or the day before, expecting the pandemic to last around 18 months. People are jumping the gun very, very early on this. Don't forget, if you self-isolate now, you unlock from your self-isolation after 7 or 14 days, and then a week later you actually get coronavirus, then you will have to self-isolate again. I think a lot of people just think this is some kind of fun game they play. They're just going to sit at home, watch YouTube, watch Netflix, and then somehow this pandemic will go away. This is a long fight. This isn't a 3-round boxing match. This is a full heavyweight 12-round long slog. We're in for a long haul now. The leaked American document is suggesting 18 months with multiple waves of the virus coming back and repeatedly hitting us. So as the other thing, YouTube and Netflix are both doing this. So YouTube to reduce streaming quality in Europe due to coronavirus. So many people now are just sitting at home watching YouTube, watching Netflix. They actually are reducing the quality of the transmission, dropping it from 4K, probably dropping it from 1080 at 60p, 60 frames, and just doing it like 720 in the lower, definitions. YouTube said on Friday it will reduce its streaming quality in the European Union to avoid straining the internet as thousands of Europeans constrained by the coronavirus outbreak switch to teleworking and watching videos at home. So YouTube, Netflix are scaling back to help stop breaking the internet. Now, this is all very well and fun, people sitting at home playing this large game of essentially hide and seek, sitting at home watching Netflix thinking they are solving the pandemic. They are not. The real crisis will be this. It will be the recession that is guaranteed at this point, and it is the potential failing of the debt markets around the world, which will be the ultimate Armageddon situation that I think is actually increasing in probability today. But I think long term it's something we're going to see, the bankruptcy or the insolvency of Western countries in the coming years at some point. I think coronavirus has just put the accelerator down, and this is something that's happening very rapidly now. So this is a news article that came out yesterday from Reuters. Bank of England halts historic gilt slump with £200 billion cash promise. The Bank of England halted the sharpest slide in British government bonds since 1998 on Thursday after it cut interest rate to a record low of 0.1%. So for all intents and purposes, we don't have interest rates anymore. We're effectively at zero. Maybe they'll go negative. That won't really help the situation. I think that will just create more problems for the future. We are essentially at zero now, with £200 billion of asset purchases. That isn't funded. That's monetization. That's QE. Debasing the pound in your pocket, printing money, whatever your favourite term is. This is just fiat money now being pumped into the system. And the real worry is what happens with the gilt markets, with the bond markets, as the future goes on. So British assets have been under heavy selling pressure this week as concerns about the economic impact of the coronavirus mounted and investors sought the safety of the dollar, pushing sterling to its weakest in 35 years against the US currency. Now, in times of crisis, people tend to flee to the dollar. It's what's happened pretty much since the US dollar became the reserve currency around the world. It's what has happened. I don't expect the US dollar to last as the reserve currency forever. That'd be a foolish thing to say. But initially, at least in the opening stages of this, what's going to be, at least a year 1.5 years, 2 years pandemic that goes around the world, people are fleeing into the US dollar, and people are converting back to the US dollar because you need the dollar to buy commodities around the world. So people are sometimes scaling back into dollars and then repurchasing other assets with their dollars, like commodities, things like that. So it's been pretty much of a bloodbath week for the pound. So the pound against the US dollar. Sterling falls to multi-decade low after break below 1.20. I think Tuesday, it was the 17th of March, Tuesday, the pound lost over 1,000 pips in one day. I think it went to 1.32 to 1.22 in a day. That's 1,000 pip drop. This is really kind of wacky out there stuff. Forex markets tend to be quite stable, especially relatively large currencies like the US dollar. I mean, pound is a little bit more volatile. It was one of the slightly more volatile of the big currencies, but we're really seeing like unprecedented stuff at the moment. I mean, this is the pound live now. I mean, shocking numbers, 1.17 against the US dollar. I mean, we could potentially from here quite easily go to parity with the US dollar. I mean, it is up today. I mean, the Forex markets are very, very volatile at the moment. It's up 2.3% today. But, that doesn't really mean anything. The long-term decline is setting in now. I think one of the reasons is people are just worried about, no one's saying it. The central banks cannot say this because they have to maintain, a strong posture. They have to maintain confidence in the markets. But I think long-term, some of these bondholders are probably fearing now, is the UK going to pay good on its debt obligations? Is the Eurozone going to pay good? Ultimately, America has the same problems as us, but it has the safety of still being the number one global economy. It's the number one military power. They can do some crazy stuff to keep their economy going if needs be. The UK, Europe doesn't really have that sway. Now, things just when you look into the news and you read between the lines, like, this is obviously very, very bad. So this is from Yahoo. Bank of England cancels stress test of banks over coronavirus. The Bank of England cancelled this year's stress test of major banks on Friday and said it may be hard to implement the new global capital rules on time given the focus on supporting lending to customers hit by coronavirus epidemic. Now, these stress tests they do on banks, they're a mockery. They're a mockery. I mean, they engineer these stress tests that the banks will pass. They don't want people to fail. The Bank of England doesn't want to cause a banking crisis by saying, okay, X, Y, and Z banks have failed the stress test this year. That will send the markets, especially the banking sector, into a tailspin. They're designed to pass these stress tests, and the fact they're saying now they're not even going to bother doing the stress test, that should send alarm bells ringing how bad this economic crisis potentially be. As I said from the beginning, don't fear the virus itself. If you're young, relatively healthy, you're not obese, you don't have diabetes, things like this, you're just a normal, regular, healthy guy, you go for runs, you go to the gym, you're healthy, you eat fairly clean, nothing to worry about. You don't smoke. Honestly, nothing to worry about, like 99.99% survival rate for someone like that. You need to fear, no matter how strong you are, no matter how much you can bench press, when a full-scale banking collapse happens, the money goes bad, hyperinflation, however it rolls out, it doesn't matter how strong you are, it's still going to affect you. So the big thing to take away from this, guys, is people are trying to calm the markets. People are even trying to calm the average Joe in the streets. I mean, things like buying toilet roll, it's ridiculous. Frankly, it's ridiculous. It's not bad to have it, but it's not going to be the ultimate thing that saves you. People still need to be acquiring things like gold, things like silver. I mean, I've got my gold, I've got my silver. If I have spare money, I would like to add to that. But these are things that, we've been talking about for a while. I mean, I've got this video up. I'm going to redo this video because this was made a while ago. I do think the quality of my videos have probably got at least somewhat better since I made this one. But I'll leave a link to the description of this video. So this was the poor man's guide to surviving the financial collapse. Made this video back in August last year. Maybe I know some of you who watch these videos have commented that you do own some gold, some silver. I don't know what the state of buying gold and silver is at the moment. I'm guessing that if there isn't a shortage already, there will be a shortage very soon. I quite like this way of buying used, circulated silver coins in the UK because silver carries. So if you're interested in gold or silver, go back and watch that video. Hopefully you'll get some information from it. I'm going to remake that video anyway, so look forward to a future upload on that. Hopefully it will be a bit more revised for the current situation. Anyway, everybody should be preparing for this. Boris Johnson is bending the truth when he says this thing's going to blow over in 12 weeks. I mean, we may potentially have gone past the peak in 12 weeks, but this is looking like something that's going to be with us 18 months, 2 years. So just be careful about who you listen to. Don't just go unnecessarily into self-isolation, because you're looking at a long, prolonged battle now. This is going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time for these problems to go away. And just don't burn yourself out anytime soon, because it's a long battle now. And be prepared. Start buying gold, start buying silver. If you can't find those things, buy things that will be useful to you and tradable in the future. Thanks for watching this video anyway, guys. Situation is going to get worse before it gets any better anytime soon. But good luck, Godspeed, and I'll see you in the next video.